Have you ever wondered how elite athletes, especially in, really fast-paced sports like soccer, find that extra edge, how they fine-tune their training? We all want to get fitter, faster, more powerful, right? But how do the pros, or those aiming high, actually make those small improvements that will make all the difference? Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise, bringing you the most impactful stuff from the latest research. Today, we're diving into a really interesting study. It looks at a specific soccer training method, how tiny changes can actually reshape a player's physical abilities.
Yeah, this one's fascinating. We're looking at a new article titled Comparing Physical Fitness Adaptations Induced by Small-Sided Soccer Games with and Without Ball Touch Limitations. A randomized parallel and controlled study.
Wow, that's quite a title. Sets the scene. So who's behind this work?
It's a team. XiaoYuan, Feiming Song, Xingyun Zeng, Zhou, and Zhou. Published recently in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, volume 24. Came out in 2025. For anyone wanting the full details, the DOI and all that, you can find it with the DOI. 10.52082 JSSM.2025.21 FEDI. It was received early in the year, January 18th, accepted Feb 18, and then published online March 1st, 2025.
Great. So what's our mission today with this deep dive? What exactly were these researchers trying to figure out? And why should we care? Why does it matter for players, coaches, or even just fans?
Well, the core question is actually pretty neat. They wanted to know if adding a seemingly small rule change, just limiting how many times a player can touch the ball during these common soccer drills, small-sided games, or SSGs, if that actually has a medium-term impact, like over weeks, not just one session. Specifically, they looked at fitness adaptations, things like speed, anaerobic power, and aerobic endurance.
Okay, let's unpack that. SSG, small-sided games. For those maybe not deep into soccer coaching, what are they exactly, and why are they so popular in training now?
Right. So SSGs are basically like mini soccer games. Think fewer players, smaller field, maybe some adjusted rules. They're designed to cram in lots of key game moments, quick decisions, ball control, tactics, but in a really intense, controlled way. Coaches use them a lot because they hit both physical conditioning and those technical, tactical skills all at once. It's efficient.
Okay, makes sense. Sounds like a great training tool. But why focus specifically on ball touch limitations? You mentioned coaches tweak things like player numbers or field size all the time.
That's the really smart part of this study, I think. See, lots of research looked at the immediate effects of SSGs, like how high does your heart rate get during the drill, how far do you run, that kind of thing.
Right, the in-the-moment stuff.
Exactly, but there was this gap. Coaches were using ball touch limits, but we didn't really know if limiting touches actually led to lasting fitness improvements over, say, 6 weeks. Does it genuinely make you faster long-term? Does it boost your ability to repeat sprints? That's what the study aimed to find out. They wanted to see if these small rule tweaks translate into real, measurable adaptations.
Okay, got it. So bridging that gap between the immediate effects and actual medium-term fitness gains. How did they set it up then? What was the experiment like?
It was a randomized, parallel-controlled trial. Pretty much the gold standard for this kind of research. Helps make sure the results are actually because of the training. They got 47 youth male soccer players, average age around 16 and a half, playing at a regional level, and they excluded goalies, which makes sense, to keep the player roles consistent.
Okay, 47 players. How were they divided up?
They were randomly put into one of 3 groups. First, the limited BT group, that was 16 players. Their SSGs had rules limiting ball touches, maybe 1 or 2 touches max per possession. Second, the free BT group, also 16 players. They played the same SSGs but with no touch restrictions. Free play, basically. And third, the control group, 15 players. They just did their normal soccer training, no extra SSG sessions like the other 2 groups.
Right. And what did the actual training involve for those first 2 groups, the limited and free touch ones?
So over 6 weeks, both those groups did 3 extra SSG sessions each week on top of their regular team practice. These sessions weren't super long, maybe 12 to 20 minutes, and they used different formats, 4v4, 3v3, sometimes 5v5 or 2v2. But the crucial thing, the only planned difference between the limited BT and free BT groups was that ball touch rule. Everything else, field size for the format, player numbers, duration, even the coaches, was kept the same.
Okay, that's clear. And they tested everyone before and after these 6 weeks.
Yep, comprehensive testing. Before they started and right after the 6 weeks ended, they measured linear speed over 10 meters and 30 meters, so short burst acceleration and a slightly longer sprint. They assessed anaerobic power using the RS test, repeated sprintability test that involves Multiple 30-meter sprints with really short rests tests how well you can keep producing power.
Got it. Like those repeated efforts in a game.
Exactly. And finally, aerobic performance. They use the yo-yo intermittent recovery test, the wire, that's a shuttle run test, back and forth with short breaks. It's really good at mimicking the stop-start nature of soccer endurance.
Okay, solid setup. So let's get to the results. The big question. Did limiting ball touches actually make a difference? What did they find?
They absolutely did. And the results are pretty clear, actually quite practical for coaches. Let's break it down. First, aerobic capacity, the wire results. Both the limited touch group and the free touch group got significantly better compared to the control group. So any kind of these extra SSGs boosted their endurance. But interestingly, there wasn't a significant difference between the limited and free touch groups here.
So for just building overall stamina, playing more SSGs works, touch rule or not. That's good to know. What about speed, though? That's often where the edge is, right? Those quick bursts.
Yes, and that's where it got more interesting, more nuanced. For the 10-meter sprint, that initial acceleration, the limit BT group, the ones with the touch restriction, were significantly faster afterwards than both the free BT group and the control group.
Wow. Yeah.
The free BT group also got faster than the control group, but the limited touch group had the biggest improvement. Clear advantage there for short sprints.
But what about the 30-meter?
This is the surprising part. For the 30-meter sprint time, neither the limited DABT nor the free BT groups showed significant improvements compared to the control group.
Really? That is surprising. Faster over 10 meters, but not 30? How does that work?
Well, if you think about the nature of these SSQs, they're usually in smaller spaces, right? So players might not actually get many chances to hit their absolute top speed and hold it over 30 meters. It's much more about repeated short accelerations, decelerations, changing direction quickly. The 10-meter sprint reflects that kind of explosive start much better. The 30-meter test might measure something that these specific SSG formats just don't train as effectively. It's about the type of speed being developed.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, training specificity. So the SSGs, especially limited touch, were great for the start of the sprint, which happens constantly in games.
Yeah.
Okay, what about anaerobic power then? That RS test.
Right. Anaerobic power, crucial for repeating those intense bursts. Here again, the limited BT group came out on top. They had significantly better RS times than both the free BT and the control groups.
Okay, so a clear pattern emerges.
Yeah, the free BT group also did better than the control group, but limiting the touches gave a superior boost to anaerobic power, just like it did for the 10-meter sprint.
So why? Why do you think limiting touches has such a potent effect on anaerobic power and short sprints specifically? What's the mechanism there?
It likely comes down to the intensity and frequency of actions. When you limit touches, players have to think faster, move the ball quicker, and reposition themselves more rapidly and more often.
Less time to rest on the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It forces more intense, more frequent efforts, more accelerations, more sprints, more quick changes of direction per minute of play. This constant high-intensity work is a powerful stimulus for the anaerobic energy systems, the phosphocreatine system, and glycolysis. These are your body's go-to energy sources for really quick, powerful movements. And it probably also helps recruit and develop those fast-twitch muscle fibers, the ones you need for explosive speed and power.
Okay, that makes sense. Higher demand forces faster adaptation in those specific systems.
Precisely. And for the aerobic side, as we said, both SSG types worked well. The general intensity is just high enough in both limited and free play, often getting heart rates up towards 90% max. That sustained effort improves cardiovascular efficiency, mitochondrial function in the muscles, lactate threshold, all the stuff that helps you keep going. So SSGs generally are great for that base endurance.
This really does have some clear, practical takeaways for coaches and athletes, doesn't it?
Right.
It's not just theoretical.
Absolutely. It gives coaches evidence to be more targeted. If you look at your team and think, we need to be more explosive in the box, or we need better repeat sprint ability, then this study suggests that incorporating SSGs with ball touch limits is a really effective tool.
Right. Use that specific constraint to drive that specific adaptation.
Exactly. It forces those match-like moments of quick decisions and explosive actions under pressure.
But what about the flip side? If you focus too much on limited touches, do you maybe lose something else? Like players developing dribbling skills or creativity?
That's a really important point, the art of coaching, right? SSGs, even with limits, still involve decision-making and tactics. But yes, if you only did limited touch games, you might restrict chances for players to, say, beat someone one-on-one with a dribble or hold the ball up. So a smart approach is probably to mix it up. Use limited touch SSGs when you really want to target that anaerobic power and acceleration. but also use free play SSGs to let skills and maybe different tactical ideas flourish. Balance is key.
Use different tools for different jobs.
Pretty much. Maybe start a session with some intense limited touch work to prime those energy systems, then move into something more open. And we should also mention the study's limitations, of course. This was done with youth male players. We don't know for sure if we'd see the exact same results in, say, professional women players or even younger kids.
True. Need more research there.
Yeah, and it was 6 weeks. That tells us about medium-term effects, which is great, better than just looking at one session. But what about over a whole season? Do the effects plateau? We don't know that yet. Future studies could look at different populations, longer time frames, maybe even different field sizes or player numbers within these touch rules.
Always more questions to answer.
Always, science is never finished, right?
Ha, indeed. So let's try and summarize the main points from this deep dive. Essentially, while any small-sided games seem good for building that base aerobic fitness,
That's right.
adding that simple rule, limiting ball touches, seems to be a particularly powerful way to specifically boost anaerobic power and that critical short sprint speed.
Exactly. It underlines how tweaking just one constraint in training can really drive specific physical adaptations. It's about being targeted.
Knowing how to use the tool to get the specific outcome you need.
Precisely. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How else could we apply this idea of constraint-led training in other sports, or even just general fitness, to really fine-tune results?
A really powerful concept. What an insightful deep dive today. If you found this as interesting as we did, we really encourage you to check out the full study.
Yeah, definitely worth a read for the full methodology and data.
Again, the title is Comparing Physical Fitness Adaptations Induced by Small-Sided Soccer Games with and Without Ball Touch Limitations. A randomized parallel and controlled study by XiaoYuan and colleagues in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, Volume 24. And hey, if you want more deep dives like this, getting into the nitty-gritty of cutting-edge research and practical insights, make sure you follow our channel. Turn on those notifications too, so you don't miss the next one. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and stay well informed.